Well, it's a beautiful late morning, early afternoon in Winnipeg, and the Winnipeg Jets are 5-0. So let's do a little walk and talk for today's morning after talking about the only undefeated team left in the NHL. Fun Sunday afternoon at the old CLC yesterday as the Winnipeg Jets took on Sidney Crosby and Erik Karlsson's Pittsburgh Penguins. Yeah, I did say Karlsson. That's my boy, man. Anytime I get to go to the rink and watch Erik Karlsson, absolute joy for me. But let's talk about the good guys here. Let's start off with the man of the hour. Obviously, it was Bryan Little, retirement day with the Winnipeg Jets. The first Jet 2.0 to sign a one-day contract and retire as a Winnipeg Jet. And I thought the organization, Bryan Little, and the fans all knocked it out of the park. It was awesome to see Bryan Little back with his family. It was such a great touch to have him jump on the ice before the game, fully suited up in that Heritage jersey, taking the opening face-off against Sidney Crosby with his daughter dropping it. Just such a great, unique touch. And being there for the thank you, Bryan, stand up and cheer, and it was a lot to be a part of. Like, obviously the Jets are still in their infancy. We're 14 years in, so we're just reaching the point you're starting to see some 2.0 history be celebrated. And obviously Bryan Little meant a lot to this franchise getting off the ground. So shout outs to all involved. Just an absolute awesome day honoring a guy that was beloved here. Back to this iteration of the Winnipeg Jets, who had a really great, or not great, but really good first period where I thought, were clearly the better team, just couldn't bury. And my brother and I were sitting there yesterday just like, you just know these are one of those games where Pittsburgh's going to score first and really quiet this momentum. And then we see the Jets come out for the first half of that second period, and the ice had definitely tilted in Pittsburgh's direction. Pittsburgh goes up 2-0, and shout out Scott Arniel, who we spent some time talking about the Winnipeg Jets coaching staff and some of the great adjustments we've seen early on this week's Top Line Winnipeg podcast. Saw it on the broadcast on the way home later, didn't see it in the arena, but during that TV timeout where they're honoring Little, they're playing such poor hockey. Arniel takes the time to really give it to his team and created quite the spark. Obviously, Nick Ehlers, gonna miss Nick Ehlers if he leaves, man. A lot of people are it's gonna be a wake-up call. Nick Ehlers does what Nick Ehlers does, draws a penalty, and on the ensuing 6-on-5 when the Jets get the goalie pulled, creates a beautiful goal with Kyle Connor. Nick Ehlers burns his defender with speed, looks to create to the middle of the ice. Kyle Connor, we all know what he does best, and that's finding the soft areas and putting the puck in the back of the net. And it seemed like after that goal, the Jets really woke up and got the momentum going. 6 goals on the night from 6 different Winnipeg Jets. The kind of depth performance you like to see. Ehlers creates a big assist on the third goal. I believe it was the third goal. On the 4-on-4, jumping in and finding Vlad Nemestikov. The Adam Lowry line comes up big with 2 goals in the third period. That line continues to be a bit of a horse for this team. They got the Sidney Crosby minutes and outscored the Crosby minutes yesterday. And that's going to be a ball game when you're playing against Sidney Crosby. Continue to see great efforts from the Nino Lowry Apples. I thought this was the 3rd straight game in a row Neil Pionk has really stepped up his game. Not going to make any bold proclamations on the rest of his season, but I thought this was the type of week from him and Dylan Sandberg where you could at least be hopeful about the second pair. Neil Pionk looked a lot more confident in his reads and his jumps, and I thought that made a big difference in turning the puck up the other way for the Winnipeg Jets this week. So, shit on the guy a lot, but when things are going well, and this was a good week for Neil Pionk. It was also the first game we saw Scott Arniel go to the press box and bring in some of the extras. Saw some people pretty frustrated with that, being that they were 4-0. I like it. The Winnipeg Jets are a deep hockey team, and keeping guys involved early, I'd much rather see that. I mean, injuries are going to happen. There's 82 games. We've only played 5. No issues from me there. I like seeing Arniel willing to do that in the middle of a win streak, to be honest. It might even tip off that when this team's winning but things aren't working with, let's say, the two skill groups, maybe he will be willing to make a shift. On the guys that came in, I thought David Gustafsson had a so-so game. His line took on the Evgeny Malkin line, which was pretty invisible, but he did look to me like a guy that had some rust. Shout out Eric Comrie for his first start back this year. I'm going to have to build up the trust in Eric Comrie again, as I found myself flinching in arena on the second shot of the game. But he played real well. The lateral movement was there, which is a key feature to his success, obviously. But 38 plus saves, or 38 saves, no complaints there from the backup goalie. The last one to draw in was Logan Stanley, who took out Hayden Fleury. And my opinion on Logan Stanley has been long documented, but I thought yesterday was just another example of what should be the last game Logan Stanley wears a Winnipeg Jets jersey, in my opinion. No problem with him getting in, given the situation we just talked about, but you just can't have a D-man that's fighting on the fringe of a roster spot self-implode every time the puck's on his stick or a guy has him beat. The Jets just have better options at this point. Hayden Fleury and Colin Miller have been really solid together in the third pair. Ville Heinola should be getting healthy soon. I think it's really time for this organization to realize the bet they made on Logan Stanley was a bad bet, and sometimes that happens. All that to say, though, 3-0-0, a lot of good going on. Still a pretty soft schedule the rest of the next week and a little bit here. Huge 10 points to be banking while Nashville and Colorado struggle out of the gate. Good time to be a Winnipeg Jets fan. See you at the rink.